Not many new game systems have introduced such a controversy within the Last Epoch community as the new Monolith. Too hard, too challenging, too easy, not rewarding, it is all over the place. Hey everyone, this is Thyworm with a dedicated video about the new Monolith, providing explanations, a bit of context and my own opinion on the whole thing. Enjoying Last Epoch content? Consider subscribing. But let me start this video by saying that the achievement of implementing this new Monolith system, including all the changes it has gotten so far in hotfixes, is enormous. 11th hour games truly outdid themselves, once more, raising the bar for content patches, responding to feedback and implementing awesome game mechanics. The massive amount of work they put into this gets a bit understated because of all the discussions, so I just wanted to show my appreciation for what they have done. First, a short explanation of this new system, so we're all on the same page here. The Monolith of Fate in its new form is basically a completely new endgame zone. It is not just a visual thing either on a map, it is a physical zone where you can walk around the different floating islands and travel to different timelines. You start with just one timeline unlocked, and only after completing that timeline, more timelines open up. Completing a timeline is done by running maps or echoes, and every timeline consists of a random number of maps plus 3 quests. The regular maps or echoes are basically the areas you know from the old Monolith with a bunch of additional added maps. There's a lot of variety here. You run a couple of echoes until you reach the point where you can spawn a quest echo, indicated by a small number in the top of the UI. As soon as you spawn the quest echo, you can run it and it comes with its own special story. These stories are very relatable, as you are basically playing events from the campaign in another timeline with small changes or different eras, and this way you learn a lot more about the lore, what happened in the past, and how everything came to be. It is basically an extension of the campaign, and the transition is seamless. You rinse and repeat this sequence of random echoes and the quest echo all the way until you spawn the third and final quest echo. The higher level the timeline, the longer this sequence takes, and the harder these echoes become as you are building up modifiers along the way. The third and final quest echo is the boss of that timeline. For example, this massive abomination, and you have to defeat him in order to complete the timeline. These new boss fights are totally amazing, by the way. They are very challenging, they come with a bunch of new mechanics, and it's definitely something you've never seen before in Last Epoch. They really give you a run for your money, sometimes even a little bit more than that. Should you succeed in defeating these cool encounters, then you are rewarded with a specific unique that only this boss drops. In the case of the abomination, the woven flesh or this blood ring. You are also awarded with a blessing, and which one you get depends on the timeline. The earlier ones aren't very powerful with increased XP or increased gold. Later, you get actual useful blessings like increased crit, dodge or minion damage. Congratulations, you've completed the timeline. You can now do the Walk of Fame across these newly formed bridges to the next island, to the next timeline, and here the whole cycle basically starts all over again, but with different quests and a different boss and different rewards. There are 7 timelines in total, and you can empower timelines as well, boosting them to level 100 for an additional challenge. That is, if you were successful. If you were not successful, it is not the Walk of Fame, but the Walk of Shame. You are set back several echoes, usually about 6 or 7, and you need to run the random echoes again until you encounter the boss, and then you get another try. You get one shot again, tough luck buddy, Walk of Shame, set back the clock 6 echoes and good luck next time. A lot of people have issues with this system, mostly people who were not able to complete the timeline. Others are defending it, usually the people who have completed it and may have been set back once or twice, but perhaps not 7 times like me. So, let me break it down a little bit. First off, the Monolith has definitely showed me that some builds that were fine to just casually run in the old Monolith don't suffice anymore. I really need to step up my builds and my gear in order to complete the Monolith, which I haven't been able to do so far. It is a good insight to have, and what basically happened is that builds that were previously doing well in high arena and players that did well in those arenas are doing well now. I don't have many of those builds, and I'm not that kind of player because I never cared much much for Arena. I feel everyone struggling should take a critical look at themselves and identify why you are struggling. Secondly, to everyone who did complete the Monolith, congratulations. You probably are that player that achieved high arena runs before. I'm not surprised to read on the forums that some even think it's not challenging. Based on arena leaderboards, however, this group is very small. And sometimes this group trivializes content because it comes so naturally to them, like a pro athlete looking at an amateur competition and pointing out all the things everyone is doing wrong. The truth is though, most of us are amateurs, possibly aspiring to be pros. The word I hear popping up a lot is challenge and reward. And there's this idea that if something isn't challenging, it's not really rewarding. And I can relate to that. I did the Black Temple back in the Burning Crusade 4 times a week for months until we finally were able to kill Illidan. That felt amazing after months. I have lots of stories like this from the Burning Crusade. So I agree with this, that a challenge is good. It makes people truly feel good completing them, and that's definitely something to aim for. An example a bit closer to home is maybe the Cirrus Awakening level 8 fight in Path of Exile. I beat that boss before the nerfs when he was released in Conquerors of the Atlas after hours and hours of grinding at Awakening level 8, and I was really happy that I managed to kill him after a bunch of wipes. I think it's important to mention that the opposite isn't necessarily true. Something that is not challenging can still be rewarding. There is still a sense of progression. You get more loot, you see new parts of the game, people would still feel good about killing the boss. This should be stressed as well, that for a group of players, playing and just completing sometimes can be rewarding as well. And then there is the punishing. There is no question that this new system in the Monolith is very punishing. That's not an opinion, it's a fact. You make a mistake and you're set back 6 echoes, which takes you at least 30 minutes on average with your average build with looting and all. And that's after the hotfix, because it would set you back to the start of the timeline, setting you back 25 echoes, which takes around 2 hours on your average build. This is very punishing, also in a new system, that's just a fact, and there's no actual action RPG I know of that does something like this. It would be similar to Path of Exile closing the garden after you wipe 2 garden beasts, destroying the seeds that were ready to be farmed and telling you to reform and regrow all those seeds. I'm not saying it's bad, but it's not something you see, and that might be for a reason, and not because not a single dev thought of this before. Challenging and punishing are 2 different things, but I see them getting mixed up all the time. If you make something too challenging and too punishing, the majority of the player base will not have a good time, and only mechanically flawless players with a deep understanding of the game will be able to do endgame content all the way through. They will also not realize how punishing this is because they are so good at the game and aren't really punished that much. This seems to be what's happening. It's very challenging and it's very punishing, and the combination of this is simply too much for a lot of players, including myself. Let's go back to my previous examples. First, raiding in World of Warcraft. Are there times in World of Warcraft where you have no idea what to do with a fight and you curse the game and the devs? Sure. But you have cleared the trash, you just res everyone, you buff up, take flasks and go again and again and again. Blizzard doesn't spawn all the trash mobs after a single wipe. That would be crazy, right? That is just forcing players to waste time to get to the moment where they want to be. The moment that is very challenging in itself. They need to get practice into that boss fight, and practice only works if you get an hour or 2 with the boss and then Blizzard respawns to trash, right? Makes a lot of sense. Second example, Cirrus. Whenever you open a map in Path of Exile, would you just get a single portal and if you mess up something, the entire map, including any boss fight, is gone? No, you get 6 portals, you get 6 tries. It allows you to learn the fights. You as a player can actually observe what is happening without being a god tier player, adjust, get time to practice and then at least learn something. Not many people killed Cirrus in those first 6 attempts. I think it took me around 42. And there is a significant downtime in between Cirrus fights as you need to farm and kill for other bosses. But I improved each time I faced Cirrus because I got to learn the mechanics by getting 6 attempts in a row, which is also how most humans learn, by the way. If I had to do maps for 30 minutes just to get one single try on Cirrus, I probably still wouldn't have killed Cirrus by now, 4 leagues later. And to me, this is really what it boils down to. It is not that I don't enjoy a challenge, because I do. And I am aware of what Judd said in the interview, but that is all besides the point. Judd likes a challenge and I like a challenge, and I feel we got a challenge here. but I want to be given a fair chance to learn these bosses and give me a fair way at overcoming this challenge. You can't say because a boss is doable or because some people to manage to kill them, sometimes even naked, that it is possible and therefore fine. It is possible to beat Skyrim with just a spoon, but that achievement really doesn't tell you anything about game balance, challenge or difficulty, and it's certainly not a reason to just give everyone a spoon and say they should be fine. I think allowing people a limited number of tries in succession should give them a fair chance of defeating those bosses, just like in PoE. At the end of the day, given the empowered timelines and all those challenges ahead, there will still be a very small percentage of people in the Last Epoch community that can beat all the endgame content. Just like there are very few people that actually beat Cirrus. It's a small percentage, but currently it is way too small because it is too punishing, which just leads to frustration and people giving up, like me. On top of this, you get bugs or just busted game mechanics like this one, and you realize that you really need more successive tries to make something out of this. It would alleviate most of the pressure, I feel. It would not make every single try super scary, which just isn't helping. If you want that, those systems already exist and it is the arena. If you like to be punished, play that. Nobody is asking for 6 tries in the arena before either, because everyone understands that concept. With the Monolith, however, being basically an extension of the campaign, there should be a bit of flexibility in there. I don't think the boss fights itself should be nerfed, although obviously this Legon laser beam shouldn't do this right after I teleport, but that's clear to anyone. I feel the fights itself are relatively fair, very challenging for most players, and tuned pretty much fine. Just change the punishing consequences and I will be willing to give this Monolith another go, without feeling I am just wasting my time in random echoes before I can try a boss again. This is just my 2 cents on the discussion in video format, of course. I'm also working on a video about the whole patch, soon to be released as well. Thanks for watching guys, see you all soon, bye bye.